Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, with I'm going to call it a first impressions of the Animal Wise Tarot by Ted Andrews. So I found this on Amazon, and it was at some little store out on the, I'm going to call it the edge of Wyoming. It's a little town that I don't know that I've actually been in it, but past it. So it kind of gave me a warm fuzzies. It's on the edge of the Wind River Mountains in Wyoming, and so it's out in the middle of nowhere, really. But they had somebody out there ended up with the Animal Wise Tarot. And at least I think this is the one, or maybe that was the Tarot of Transformation. I think it was this one. I don't know. Everything gets to be a muddle. If a week passes, it's all a muddle. So, this was the outer box that I showed you, and then this was the inner box of all the strange things. This was the inner box. And the cards, maybe they were supposed to sit in here a special way, but they were pretty much just loose in there. I mean, could they? Yeah, they could. They probably were supposed to sit like this, but really they were just loose. 1999. So I think they've come out with it again, another version, but this is the 1999 version, because I don't know many publishers who would have that kind of a box. Who is the publisher? Dragonhawk Publishing, Jackson, Tennessee. Here is the guidebook. Quite a hefty guidebook. Over 200 pages. It has an index. It has a quick reference. Just all kinds of becoming a psychic counselor, divination and layouts, and then of course all of the suits. So it has the major arcana, and then it has 4 suits. Is kind of a, it talks about the 4 suits in its own section. So that's interesting. And then it gives, the individual cards. How to use the Animal Wise Tarot, the hidden wisdom of animals. In case anybody is unfamiliar, Ted Andrews is the author of this, among various other books. This is the only one of his that I have. And that's the only reason I was curious about this. And I don't even know where I first found out about it. This particular deck. If I was just searching for animal decks years ago, I was looking for an animal deck. I mean, I have kind of the deck I've used for many years is the medicine cards. I always call them the animal cards. That's what they were to me. But the medicine cards is technically what they are. And I wanted something, a tarot, an animal-themed tarot, or a deck that was even wider than the medicine cards. A wider variety of animals. But I wasn't that thrilled by the appearance of these. The picture, the oval picture and stuff, I didn't find them very attractive. And so I wasn't that much into getting them. And I was hoping to just get one deck. And I did get the Animal Wisdom Tarot, and I'm fairly happy with that. But I do like having a photograph of the animals instead of artwork. And again, I haven't felt like that was, that was completely it. So I'm on a mission to purchase some decks, routinely doing some purchases, particularly of decks that have been on my wish list for quite some time. And so I took the dive with this deck, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad it stayed on my wish list. I'm glad I found something that was not just the book, but both the book and the deck. And I did message the seller to make sure that that was the case before purchasing. And I don't think I even looked on YouTube in terms of looking for videos about it, which is a shame, and probably because, again, I didn't find the faces of the cards very appealing, so I wasn't looking for anyone to convince me to get it. But one of the things I immediately liked about it, before I kind of even looked at the guidebook, was the cards were not in order in the package. And I saw this thing called the Ancients and the Shapeshifters, and I thought, oh, that's cool. So I like how he's renamed the suits for the animals. So there's the usual, there's the majors, and I'll run through the cards here shortly. So the Ancients are reptiles, which makes perfect sense. Okay, they are reptiles. And then the Shapeshifters are insects because of this, their phases, their, pupa and all of that kind of stuff, the phases that they go to. So that made perfect sense to me also. And then the winged ones and the four-leggeds. So let's see. The Ancients are wands. I think I would have been inclined to make the Ancients, although there are lizards that live in the desert, make the Ancients cups. But he made the Ancients wands and the Shapeshifters cups. And then the obvious, birds as air, and then the four-leggeds as earth. And I don't know what animal deck, if anybody knows this, if anybody's a fan of animal decks and has been collecting or watching for them for years, I don't know what is kind of maybe the first animal tarot, and whether whether this is following, I guess I'm wondering if this is following some established traditions, or if this created some established traditions, because I do see that between this and the Animal Wisdom Tarot. So I'm going to get a sip here. Okay, so let's go through the cards, because at this point there's not too much else to do. I do feel like this is not exclusively, there's a crocodile in here. We don't have those in the US, but I feel like it is very North American centered, which works for me. I like, actually, because remembering everything like that's in the animals speak, or and then there's Stephen Farmer's book, and various books about animal totems, etc. Because those can be difficult to remember if you don't have a direct association with the animal, and because there can be so much. Like Ted Andrews, when he's in his animal speak, he goes through all of the animals' habits, so he kind of gives you a lot of information about the animal and how cultures have perceived it in terms of myth and associations. And but he doesn't have a thing that says, and this is what it means if you see one, or if one repeatedly ends up in your life, or if you feel like this is your animal totem. He doesn't really do that. So he gives you a lot of information for you to digest and sort of glean out from that what the significance of an encounter with an animal is for you. But in your reading, you want to be somewhat more focused. And so I'm glad that they have that, like, wisdom and folly on the coyote. Who's next? We have the high priestess is the spider, and intuition and weaving of fate. So he's got keywords on the cards. So it is oracle-ish. And there's, I think it's on every card, we have this little figure which looks to be like a griffin or something. So I don't know if that's something, I don't know if it's the publisher or if Ted Andrews has that as a symbol. So the Empress, the dolphin, I really like that. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I like it anyway. The Emperor as the bald eagle. Alright, Hierophant. It's crane. Lovers is the bee. And even though we have the saying, the birds and the bees, yeah. But again, I think this is, well, maybe it isn't true in the animal wisdom. I know that some of them are very much the same. Okay, the chariot, okay, that makes sense for the horse. Strength of the lion, yes, that makes sense. Hermit, the owl. This one almost has a hanged man kind of feel to it because, if you think of the hanged man as being a different perspective, because this is the owl in their owlishness, one of their most owlish things they do, which is turning their head all the way around. Wheel of Fortune as the bear, so heeding inner voice and cycles. See, I would have switched maybe this out with, I would have made maybe this the high priestess, heeding inner voice sort of thing, with the spider. But anyway, ancient powers of justice at work. I've never quite understood the elephant association with justice, but that's all right. Maybe when I read the book, it will all become clear. The hanged man, very common and automatic. The snake for death. This is a little weird to me. I don't think many snake bites result in actual death, do they? Or maybe that's just because we have the serum, the antidote to the poison now. I would have said like maybe jellyfish, or that's what I would be afraid of. The swan for temperance, which I think is lovely. And this is a little new dreams and new realms. Okay, so that's a different association with temperance. Let me see, what did it say for death? Shedding the old and resurrection. All right, the shedding of skin. All right, I get it. I get it. But still, I don't know. I guess I take the death card to be more thorough, complete change than simply shedding of skin. But okay. The devil, light in the dark, shape-shiftings. So I think this is its own thing. Vulture, life, death, and rebirth. So I could have seen this as the death card, and it's the tower instead. I like how it's the image itself is tower-like. Yeah. I could have even seen the vulture as the emperor because of certain stories surrounding it. But anyway. The star, again, it's kind of like an ugly image. You know, if you're going to do a firefly, or lightning bug, whatever you want to call it, a firefly, then why not show a more interesting picture of it than this for the star? I don't know, but it's calling spiritual inspiration and hope. The moon, intuitive guidance and guardianship. That's interesting because I've never thought of the moon in terms of guardianship. So I think this deck has more, I don't think I showed you the backings. The backings are attractive. I don't think this deck has that much to do with the tarot. I think it's more of an oracle deck, but he, you know, did his best to associate it with the tarot. But because of some of the changes and stuff, I think I will think of it as an oracle deck. The sun, hummingbird, joys, dreams, and accomplishments. So I like it. I'm very glad that I finally got it. Judgment, the whale, and I kind of like the idea of the whale as judgment, because, you know, they're under the surface and then they rise up. But again, you know, it's kind of a subdued image for whale, but there it is, new depths of creativity. See, it makes much more sense with the keywords, sorry for all the glare, keywords, than it does for anything else. So yeah, it's more oracle-y to me than tarot, but some of the associations, sorry, definitely make sense. Little turtle for the world, which is a Native American association with, it seems like there are other cards that struck me as very much, I think the Ace of Earth is the buffalo, which, reading the Lakota Sweat Lodge cards and the position that the bison has in that, made sense to me. Oh, okay. I'm like, all right, Ace, that makes sense for the buffalo. Because they were so primary to the survival of the Native Americans. And this is Turtle Island, you know, and again, I don't know if that's an association in other cultures, but it's definitely in Native American culture. Ace of Ancients, fertility and new beginnings. Now we have the sea turtle for Two of Ancients, persevere to achieve. So what I did when I sorted the deck is I went kind of from the bottom up, almost. I went from the ancients to the shapeshifters. If I were really to do the most primitive, I would have gone from the majors to probably the shapeshifters, then to the ancients. I was getting biological, you know, wanting to put them according to complexity or something. So Three of Ancients, unique inspiration and assistance. I'm going through it slow just because I didn't have time to really look at what animals were associated. So we have anole, salamander, anole, turtle, frog. I think there are lots of turtles in here. I think there's well, I won't say an overabundance. I'm into turtles, but more than you'd have of some other animals. Gecko, do what we must and struggle. Here's another turtle, painted turtle. Faith and efforts rewarded. Again, toad, yay, toad, as opposed to frog. Toad, when I was a kid, I was totally into toads. Inner strength and resources. I love that. I'll have to look up toad in here. Along the way, I sort of lost touch with my inner toadiness, but I think it's still in there. I can tell from my response to that card. Oh, toads. Now snake, they have rat snake, and I'm assuming we'll have other snakes as well, just like we had that rattlesnake in the majors. Acceleration and movement. Gila monster, 9 of ancients. Tortoise. I'm just loving the turtle energy here. Movement through pressures. Oh, how interesting. Page of Ancients, chameleon. I'm loving the reptiles, except for this one, Knight of Ancients, Komodo dragon. These ones really freak me out. Strong survival and instincts. Crocodile. Primal strength into creation. I've never understood. I mean, I'd have to get more into Egyptian culture, I think, to really understand all of the different associations with crocodile. I just think of them as incredible killers. Huge jaws. Yeah. Okay. King of Ancients. What happened to was that the queen? That was the queen. The crocodile queen. The cobra. Swift, sudden decisions and actions. I'm glad they did have a cobra in here, actually, as a snake. I don't dislike snakes like some people do. Ace of Shapeshifters, butterfly. 2 of Shapeshifters, daddy long legs. Now that's not right. Arachnids should be different, but I have to say I do like daddy long legs. They're amusing. Weaving deeper relationships. Now where have I, because of daddy maybe? Anyway, there it is, daddy long legs. And this is, they call it a silk moth. Looks like a Luna moth to me. Fertility, success, and fulfillment. So I like also that moth is separate from butterfly. I've been on the verge of looking up moth because moths coming at me. What was the situation recently where one was like patting on my head? It's like, go away. Stick bug or walking stick. Activity beneath the surface. I like how that one has different colored joints. So he's playing here because we have a worm, so he's getting outside of the insect arachnid. He's going way primitive here. So, working old ground. Well, that's amusing. See, this card would have also been an interesting one for judgment. It's called Working Old Ground. The 5 of Shapeshifters. Happiness from the past. Cicada. A necessary decision for goals. Beetle. Ant is searching and working for greater good. It's a nice positive association with ants. Being in the American South, I don't have very good associations with ants these days. They're very invasive. Ladybug. Wish fulfilled. So he's going with the good luck association with ladybugs. Leaps of faith. Or grasshopper. Again, good luck and new birth for caterpillar. Well, I'll have to look and see what the difference is between the caterpillar and the ladybug. Well, one is wish fulfilled, I guess. So something actually happening, whereas this is just a wish or an assumption of good luck. Praying mantis is the knight of shapeshifters. Even though it's a female, and this is insight and protection through stillness. Queen of Shapeshifters, that's a neat idea with the cricket. Sensitive intuition and power of belief. Dragonfly is the king of shapeshifters, trusting in the power of light. That makes sense. Alright, we're entering the winged ones. And the ace is the woodpecker. Unique new rhythms of success. Proper choice and use of power for the blue jay. Healing of the heart, rose-breasted grosbeak. I assume, again, that's also, I don't know what position it's in. Yes, I think it is the 3 of air. I don't know if it's because of the red on the breast. I don't know. You could have put blue jay for that, for the 3 of swords, because of its habit of destroying, you know, another bird's. I think they destroy their eggs and lay their own eggs in its place and let somebody else mother them. Okay, chickadee. Seeing the inner truth. Little chickadee. Goose. For heed the call of the quest. True enough. They're great migrators. Moving between cycles and worlds for the dove. So this is the 6. Yeah. Magpie. Okay, magpie for the 7. Proper use of secret knowledge. Secret knowledge. The 8 is time to free emotions and anxieties. Grackle. 9 is the loon. I think it's great that they have a loon in here. Answers and hope in dreams. Answers and hope in dreams. Peacock for 10, new cycle of death and resurrection. Then you'd think that this might have been judgment, but that's okay. I think I could quibble about these assignments, but I think I'm going to ignore them anyway. Just as I did with my Animal Wisdom Tarot. I just took the tarot associations off of them. I don't know that I'll trim this one. I don't know that I'm feeling the need as much. Crow for the page. Unexpected magic and energy. Hawk for the night. Guardianship and ventures. Queen, and I love the parrot as the queen. Sharp vision and spiritual perception. And the king, the great blue heron. Assertive authority and counsel. Alright, we're on to the 4-legged. As I mentioned, buffalo or bison here. New prosperity and abundance. I love having a porcupine involved, balancing work and play. Porcupine, otter, creativity and skill. Badger, yes, badger, self-reliance and practical pursuits. Mouse, examining life's lessons. Jaguar, reclaiming power and fruits of labor. I could see actually using these as part of a love reading if you end up, because they seem to be empowering messages. They're empowering messages. So if you have a love reading that is, or a career reading or anything, where a person's either about to encounter, or, you know, there's energies that are really challenging, you know, obstacles, etc., difficult time, that this would be a great deck to pull out to remind them of, you know, their inner resources in the world, good things. Okay, so the 7 is rabbit, proper use of cycles and rhythms. Squirrel, preparing for the future. Beaver, working for our dreams. Moose, and I love having moose in here also. Home, birth, home, comma, birth, comma, and primal mother. Deer is the page, lure to new studies and pursuits. I don't think I've ever thought of deer as studying anything, but whatever. The knight is the cougar or puma, coming into our own power. So again, this is one of the ways that in its mammals, it's very North American. You know, you don't even have any jaguars or etc., which works for me because this is where I'm from. So this all works for me and rings bells. You know, yes, there are Komodo dragons that we don't have, and there are various other animals we don't have, but most of them are things that are recognizable to me. So it works for me as a reader. I do like other decks that have, you know, more continents covered. Alright, so the Queen. We're down to 2. The Queen is the lynx, hidden knowledge and creativity. And then the King, we do go off of the North American continent to the gorilla, strength, nobility, and generosity. So there you go. I'm going to see how they shuffle, because I only put them in order, not even to show you that I put them. I just put them in order to make sure that I had an entire deck. And I don't think I would have cared that much if I didn't have an entire deck. They're a little stiff for shuffling, but not critically so. I think they'll soften up. You know, I'm able to get a decent shuffle out of them. And again, I have weak hands. I have problematic hands. I have pain in my hands. I have tendonitis, all kinds of crazy things. One thing is I think I'll need to be edging this deck. I doubt the camera will pick it up. Oh, it does. Yep. So it seems to be, I don't know if it's mildewy. I don't know quite what the issue is there, but the different colors, the yellowing of it is something that I can see. And it's like, well, I might need to edge this. I'm not sure what I'll edge it with. I mean, the backs are kind of a mauve, which is not very animal deckish to me, and I think that's part of, I'm not very pinkish. I'm not into pink. I would have to say pink is probably one of my least favorite colors. And yet, it's a very pink deck. I could color it, couldn't I? I could color it. The paler part doesn't bother me so much. And so I wonder about the choice of colors. Whose decision was this? Rose, maybe they were thinking rose colored. Anyway, so yeah, I'll have to think about what color I want to edge it in. If anybody has any suggestions, go ahead, give me a suggestion. Any suggestions for how I might color this in with a pen or something, go for it. Or tell me, Jennifer, you just ruin it. Don't do it. Because I could very well just ruin it. Let me see. So, I'm very happy I got this deck. I think I'm going to enjoy exploring what he has written in the guidebook. Because, you know, then it can transfer to other animal decks that I have. I do have, so I've got this. I've got the National Geographic cards, which were not intended for Oracle type use at all. And then I have the medicine cards. wait, I have the medicine cards. Did I say the medicine cards? Medicine cards, National Geographic, then the Animal Wisdom Tarot, and this. Those are my 4 animal decks. Alright, there you go, and I don't know when you'll see me again. I was just going to say, and I'll be back, well, whenever a tarot tag, strikes my fancy, or I'll be back with the Oracle Ramble. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.